In the eight perverted views, there's a word that there's a proper perception, the right perception, and the rightness. What does the right stand for? Well, you should not just think of rightness. Well, but it's good to have the accurate concept of it. Here, if I say in a simple way, then it is a thought, it is a perception that has gotten rid of all the greediness and also anger. Also, in other way, well, the three evil roots, well, there's no need to talk about before Buddha got his enlightenment, but this is a saying of after getting rid of all the three evil roots, and why are they right? That's because you can leave the suffering. Also, the method to leave the suffering and also the means to leave the suffering, we call it the right perception. And if we give an example, the saying that there is a creation and also the dependent arising, when you say there had been a creation, there's not the point where you can go through the suffering. Because it has been created, it's not the time you go through suffering, so we cannot say that's the proper perception. Well, it could be the right perception for those who are being born in the heaven or something, but the agony for that, but for this one, we need to have the proper perception for the law of relations. So here, whether it is the idea of the Buddha or where the saint itself are the words where they have gotten rid of all their greediness. So they are saints, they do not possess any lies. So we say the proper perception or proper views. The things that we say, maybe we think they are right, but from other point of view, others, they do not think it is right. We look into mirror and say we are handsome, right? But others might think it's not handsome. Maybe others think you are very ugly. So here, the proper or right, here it is something as holy. Why is it holy? That's because it's apart from the greatness. There can be nothing holy in an independent way in this world. Some people, some religions, they thought something that's from ancient is holy, so they also obeyed the land or fire. But if the land is holy, then why do you go to bathroom on the land? It's very dirty, right? Well, so it's not right to have that kind of idea. So when we say holy, there's nothing holy about anything else, but holy refers to no lies at all. Why is there no lie? Because the lies comes from all your stubbornness. It all comes from your own thoughts. So even the national security group, if they have not fallen into their own group, if they're not falling for their interest, then there's no lie for them to lie. Even personally, if you are in the selfishness for yourself, then you're bound to lie. Why is it so? If you say, please lend me some money, well, I know you have money in your own bank account, but others don't know. But if you know that you have money in your bank account, that's a big lie. That's a right lie. Although you say you're doing the white lie, it's not a white lie. There is no white lie as such. That's just a lie. I'm not able to give money to you. That's right, but I don't have it. That's a lie, right? Hello. If I come to monastery, on which uh, do I have to offer or do I have to pay respect? Well, the religions they talk about is actually from Japan, so you should not worship the religion they talk about. Over there, they also have the Japanese flag. Well, if they want to debate with me in public, I would do it. There's no reason for us to bow to Japan or prostrate to looking at the side of Japan. There are some ignorant people who also have the Japanese flag, and also the Ichiran's idea is wrong because they say he said the Shakyamuni uh, is already finished off with his holiness, and Ichiran is the one who is the savior. But that's also wrong. The saying itself is wrong. So we call it idol worship for if you're prostrating in front of those kind of things. I just say the same to one Buddhist religion, that even the name itself, they if they think their head is Misoso, then they should not call it Wonbulgyo because Wonbulgyo already has his name. They should call themselves one religion or one something. When they have put as Buddhism in part of it, it refers to a sect that belongs to Buddhism already. That's against the respect, and also it is not. It is also against the ideology. So the Ilyeonsan is just from Japan. It belongs to one of the Japan's branches, religious branches. There's also some building here in Yosu, and I don't think it is something very good, and not even in the political way or even in the point of view of schooling, and even with the religious ideas. They claim that if they recite their own mantras, then you get cured and your business as well. But that's all a superstition, so there's no need to talk about it. And also, when you go to monasteries, you have to find a place where there's a right teaching. And at the place where there's a right teaching, you have to know that Shakyamuni Buddha is our teacher, and he's the one who has opened the door for our teaching. And in front of him, we are going to pay our respect. And if you do that, that's right. Uh, do not bow in front of trees or stones or seawater. If you bow in front of seawater, into the seawater, looking for the seawater, then why would people fall into seawater and die? There's also some story in Buddha's teaching that where there was a Buddha passing and he was prostrating in front of all the directions, looking at the sky, sea directions, and since he was prostrating to all directions, he said I heard it is good to prostrate in front of everyone, but Buddha said do not do that. So if prostrate looking at the east, saying thank you for my family, and well that's I'm saying the directions are wrong, okay, here, but give a little meaning to family and husbands and prostrate. So do not prostrate meaningless way.
의미 없이 그렇게 저를 아무 데나 하면 안 되고 삼보에 기하옵니다. 또 한 분은 경전 공부에 뜻을 두어 목말라 할 때마다 스승님은 놔두셨습니다. 몰라 뭐 놔두셨는가 당신 눈에 보이는지 그는 모르겠어. 세속 살면서 유리복은 많지 않지만 공부하는 즐거움은 다른 어떤 것에 비할 수가 있습니다. 공부하다 이 생에서 못다 이룬 공부는 날짜마다 아이로서 졸게해서 밝아서 이거 어디 많이 듣던 소리인데 만나 불법을 배우고 익히며 중생들의 고통이 하루빨리 끊어지도록 보현행을 하는 것입니다. 진옥쌤의 꿈님 빠르빠는 20일간까지
I watched Gongli Parba until 21st lesson and the White Bodhisattva until second, and this is a letter of gratitude. This is not a question. Well, I'm thankful too. Well, I received a call from New York that they're watching it. So I'm going to watch my words a little.
그래서 개떡 같다는 소리는 이제 안 하려 그래. 왜냐면 이게 까타면 국제 개떡이 돼버려서 사카리도 안 들어간 개떡 맨날 그 얘기하다가.
Well, I'm quite afraid that my great jokes could work internationally. So
그건 안 해야 되겠다 싶은데 그도 사카리도 안 들어간 개떡이라는 것을 나는 어릴 때 경험이라서 그게 하다 보니까 자꾸 나오던지.
a little more intellectual citizen practitioners, they should concentrate in finding the right perception first. It's not only those who are more intellectual, where the intellectual people they're a little faster. So those people with a little knowledge, if you say something, then they understand fast. But that doesn't mean they take it into action. The people with knowledge, they misunderstand that the things that they know, they think that they're already putting into practice, but that is not right. That is also their own arrogance from their knowledge. Just because they know it doesn't mean they're putting into practice. However, they're a little faster than person who doesn't know anything, where they're faster in understanding, but because of their intelligence, it moves too much. And there are also cases where they have their own headaches. A lot of intelligent people nowadays, they think about it and they have go through difficulty. And also because they have too good memory, and because they read too many books, they have too many wrong memories or useless memories, so they have headaches. So they say a lot of things, but in fact it doesn't help the person at all in terms of getting away or removing the agony from them. And being intelligent also causes problems or gives them headache. But on the other hand, it is also causing headache if the person doesn't understand at all and just sit there with a blank face. But if you have been studying a lot from your previous life, and if you're But even if you don't study, if you have the energy or power to understand everything without studying, that kind of person is also okay, even if that person is foolish. But if you're foolish and if you don't understand, that causes headache. And if you are intelligent, but if your words are turning in a too rapid way, that's also a problem. So knowledge, it should be only up to the point that you can understand. That's better, and that's the best. And if you have too much knowledge, then that's also not okay. And although the Krishnamurti, who is also a philosopher of some other religion, but when he is also giving lecture in America, he usually gave it to the topic that we need to be free from those things that we know, from the restrictions of knowing or knowledge. The thing, knowledge or intelligence, it also causes us quite a lot of restrictions or problems. So in Buddhism, learning with language, we don't think it's important, but first, it's very important to have the good or right perception.
매우 중요하다. 그래요. 좀 더 지적인 수행자들은 먼저
And having the right
정견을
perception
갖는 데 집중해야 되는데
is
이
either
경계를 갖는
through
것은
Buddha's scriptures
우선
or
경전을
through
통해서
the
또는
Vinayana
큰 어른들의
of great
논전을
saints.
통해서
Well, it's actually
그
something that we
배우는
learn.
것인데 이거는
Uh,
사실 배우는
if
것이
you're
아니고요.
reading it on your own,
자기가
that's also
혼자
not okay. But you
읽어내가는
need to
것도 이거는
learn.
되질 않아요.
You need to be taught from
꼭
by
배우는
someone.
것이
That's
매우
why teachings
중요하다.
are
그게 묵혀라는
important,
것이 그래서
and also
중요하고
it's very important to listen to
묵형을
those kind
논어를
of
많이 듣는
teachings.
것이 그래서 매우 이제 중요하다
You
그런
need
얘기예요.
to have the voidness as the object of
공성을
your
수행의
practice and
대상으로 삼아 지를
achieve
성취해야
or
합니다.
practice the samatha. So, what is the ultimate
사마타의
goal of
궁극의
samatha?
목표는 무엇이냐?
Many
우리가
different
마음에서
many
일어나는
different
일어난 여러 가지 우리의
thoughts are arising in
관념들,
our hearts,
고집되어진
which are
관념들.
also being
다시
stubborn.
얘기해서
Or, for example, if we say
우리
one thought that's
생각이
been
뭐 하나
classified
정리가
or
되더라.
has been
아
organized
이거는
in our
뭐
thoughts,
아주 대단히 좋은
where
것이야.
it's
이건 또
okay,
나쁜
it's not
것이라고
right, that's good. Well, if we
고집되어진
say
안에
like
생각의 내용들
isms
있죠, 그죠?
or
그래서
even the religious
이를테면 뭐
ideas,
이념이라든지
ideologies,
또는
those
종교적
things,
어떤 신념이라든지 이런
in
것들이
reality, they are actually
이런 것들이 이제 사실상은 전부 다
actually they don't help us at all
실제로
in
우리의
terms of
輪廻을 갖다 없애는데
erasing
도움을
our
받지 않는다.
agonies. But
그런 것들이 실제하지
we have to
않는다라는
practice that they don't
공성의
actually
내용을 갖다가
exist. It's very important
체험하는
that
것이 가장 중요하다. 그러니까
the motivation
사마타의
of samatha
목적은
lies in
공성 체험에 있어요. 그 마음에 왔다
experiencing
갔다 하는 것이
those
원래
things.
있지 않고
The
이게
even the even
마음에서
the even the
고집되어진
stubbornness of
이것도
mind
전부
that they
다
don't exist, or
그
it's also
자성이
to
그
know that
자성이 공하다는
there's
것을
something
갖다가
void. So
확인하는
when we
거죠.
practice samatha,
그래서 우리가 사마타행을 수행할 때 사마타의 선정에 들어갔다.
when we say the person
선정의
has entered into
입점이
dhyana,
되어져서
that means
선정이
because of the
이루어졌다는 얘기는
one
뭐냐면
thought,
일념이
because of
되어져서
aspiration, one
왔다 갔다
thought, the
하는
thoughts
이
that kept moving
생각들의
around, they
고정관념이나 이
disappeared, and
생각들이
you have
전부
actually
다
checked the
사라져서
voidness of
생각의
thoughts.
공성을 갖다 확인했을 때를 얘기하는 것이야. 급소만 오늘 이번에
Are you going to India this time? He doesn't permit you. Bring your husband here. Appearance-wise, you are twice the size of him. Can't you win?
예? 그 아들하고 다 한꺼번에 대들어도 자네한테 못 이기겠다.
This is a very difficult
이것은
thing.
정말로 어려운 일입니다. 또 다른 일들은
Some people
마음을
also take
지혜의
other
직접적인
people.
대상으로 삼기도
Some
합니다.
people also take the mind to the direct object of samatha,
사실상 이게
where
마음의 공성
the empty
본성이
space
빈
of
자리를
voidness,
갖다가 그
the thing
마음이라고
that we
우리가
say they
일으켜서
are actually
고집하는
mind,
것들이
having that the
바탕이
basis is actually
공성이라는 것을 갖다가
void,
완전히
and
체험하기가
experiencing
굉장히
it is
쉬운 일은
very
아닙니다.
difficult.
참 어려워요. 그래서 우리는
We have also spoken
무언가
in the
중국어로도
middle way,
얘기했지만
but
무언가
we
이렇게
have to
붙들고
hold on
살아야
to
돼.
something
안
and live on.
붙들면
If we
두려워요.
don't, then we are scared, whether
뭔가
it is the
붙들어야 돼.
youth or body
젊음을 붙들고
or
살든지 몸뚱아리를
whatever it
붙들고
is, whether it's
살든지
money,
하여튼 어쨌든 간에 돈을 붙들고 살든지 아이고
or if you're
영감님
holding on to
떠나면
your
내가 어떻게
husband to
사느냐 그래서
live,
영감님을 붙들고 살든지
or holding
영감님이
on
그냥
to
내 말
your
안 듣고
child for
가버렸으니까
living,
자식을 붙들고
or the
사든지 하여튼
house,
뭐
or
집을 붙들고 사든지
even the
그러면
tree
안 되면 그것도 안
living at
되고
the
뭐
back
뒤에
of your
다른 사람이라도
house,
붙들고
or
살든지
if even that's very difficult,
그리고
then
그것도 안 되면 뭐 아이고 나는 뭐 제사 지내니까
some
아주
people
대우를
also
먹어서
take
제사
the
지내는 걸
religious
종교로
offering
붙들고
to
살든지 하여튼
ancestors as their
또
religion
그것도
or the
안 되면
god,
그냥 뭐
or
신을
for
붙들고
whatever it
살든지
is. You have to hold
하여튼
on to
붙들고
something,
살아
then you
뭔가
have less fear.
붙들어야 덜
And
두려워.
even
그
you,
뭔가
in
여러분들도
your bank
통장에
account, if it's
돈이 이렇게
minus, then you're
마이너스가
a
들어오면 좀
little
불안하죠, 그죠?
scared.
에? 마이너스 안 돼봤구나. 그거만 돼봤나 보다.
If there's a zero
통장에
balance
마이너스가
in your
돼도
account,
불안해.
it's also
왜냐하면
scary
돈을
because
붙들고
you have
살았기
been
때문에.
living holding on to money.
붙들고 살아. 그래 이제 여러분들 내가
Well,
실제로
your
화장을
act
하는
of putting
이유도
on
내가
makeup, I
근원적으로
know that
알아요.
essentially,
왜냐하면
in the
젊음을
essence,
붙들고 이쁨을
because you hold
붙들고
on
살라고
to the
하기
youth and
때문에
also
이게
beauty.
안
If you
그러면 좀
don't put on the
불안해.
makeup, you're a little scared.
안 그리면 조금 불안해.
if I don't
내가 이
apply
연습을
the
안 해보고 가면
eyebrows,
어떻게 사람들이
what do
모르냐.
people think of me? There is something that you have to hold on,
뭔가 하여튼
and
붙들고 살지.
because you're
붙들고 사는데 그
greedy,
붙들고 사는 게 욕심이 많아가지고 하여튼
just like a spider holding on
그러니까
to
거미줄
its web,
붙들듯이 여기 한 달 잡고 저 한
you
달 잡고
hold
저
on
한 달
to
잡고
many
그냥
different things, and when you
붙들고
think
살고
that there is less
저게
hope,
별로 희망이 없어 보일
then
때는
you
이쪽에다 힘을
also
줬다가
look at this
또
part or
이쪽에
that
별로
part.
희망이 없어 보일 때는 여기에 힘을 줬다가 그래야 살아.
Just like the
사막에 사는
lizard living in the
목도리도
Sahara
봐도
Desert.
발바닥이 뜨거우니까 착 들었다가 착 들어.
Uh,
그냥 그
the
목도리
lizard
걸고
was quite
말을
weird
하면
when
희한하게
it
들어
was
막
lifting
두
its
다리를
legs.
놔두고 두 다리를 탁 들어가
When
뜨거우니까
the
이렇게 또
one foot
그쪽
was
발이 뜨거우면
hot,
이걸
it was
데리고
lifting
이걸
the
식혔다가
that foot.
그 우리가
We're
사는 것도
living in
중생은
our
하여튼
all
뭔가
our sentient
붙들어야
beings. We
되는데
have
그
to hold on to
붙드는 것을
something,
갖다가
and
잘
and
해가지고
also the people
이용해
who makes
퍼먹는 것이 만세
who takes
종교인 거지.
advantage of people holding on to these,
나를 믿어라.
they
나를
are
믿으면
the
구원
wrong
받을 거다.
religious people.
구원만 받나 10원 받을 거다. 그래가지고 이게
Trust in me,
다
believe in
그래가지고
me, I'll lead you to heaven.
그래가지고 그 속에 쏙
Someone
하는
like
것도
Joy,
전에 조이스님
he
같은
said, if
놈은
you
뭐
believe in me, you will
매일
not
앓는다
die.
그러면 안
And those
죽는데
people
몸이
who
안
didn't want to
죽는다는데 그게
die, he was
그래갖고 안
holding
죽고
on
싶은
to
것들이 그냥
him a
그거
lot.
붙들고 많이
But
다녔어. 그
actually, he died
조이스에서 지금
in the
감옥에
prison
죽고 있어.
himself. That's all a lie.
그
And
말짱왕이야 그거
and the reason
거짓말을.
why we still
근데
fall
그런
for those
거짓말을
lies
우리가 왜
is
속느냐 하면
because
뭔가 좀 허전해서 내가
all my
이렇게 뭐
life I live
살아보니까
holding on to something,
붙들고
and
살았는데 그 전에는
before coming
태어나서
to
엄마
this
붙들고
world, I was holding on
살았고
to my mother, and
또 그
then I found my
살면서는 또
husband to
짝꿍을 찾아가면서
hold on
붙들고
to, and
살았고
also the
또
money, and
그러면서
also
돈을
my
붙들고
job.
살았고 뭐
I lived
직장을
on
붙들고
holding on to
살았고 뭘
something,
붙들고 살고 붙들고 살고
and
붙들고
about
살고 붙들고 살고
60s,
붙들고 살다가
you have
나이가 한
nothing to hold on
60 되고 보니까
to,
붙들고
and
살 게
so
없어. 그러니까 조이성이가 이제
someone
안
like
죽습니다.
Joe,
죽을
when
때가
he
이제
said
생각이
you don't have to
나는데
die,
두렵잖아. 그러니까 이제 이렇게
and from my
손에서
hand
나를
you
있어도
have
탁 기운을
you
받고
have
안
the
죽는다
energy,
그러니까
and you will not
그걸
die.
내가 테이프로 봤어.
And
보니까
he was
뭐 샤샤샤샤
the
이래
cheater
이러면
said
안
people
죽는데
don't die if they're influenced by him.
사기를 쳐도
That's
그런
all such a
말짱 놈아.
lie.
차라리 그 염소똥이라도 주다 팔면서 그러면 그래도 뭐 먹는 거라도 있잖아.
He cheated on so many
말짱
people,
그만한
and since
사기를
they don't
쳐가지고
listen,
그래가지고
he
지 말
killed
안
people
듣는다고 내
and
보고
also
있으니까 지 말
took
안
their
듣는다고
money.
사람 죽이고
And
뒤에서 사람 죽여버리고 말이야.
whether the religion is
그게
big or
크거니
small,
작거니 다
it's the
그래.
same for everyone.
옛날에 뭐
Even when they believe
아주
in ancient
위기인
time
그
in
종교들
one
같은
God,
뭐
together
기독교
with the
조직 반대 뭐
political
정치
interest,
권력하고
they
같이
kill
해갖고 해가지고 다
everyone
죽이고
if they were against it. They did
반대하면 다
many
죽여버린다고
religious
종교 재판 해가지고
rituals or
종교 재판을
religious
갖다 어떻게 뭔
judgments. They
수로
made
종교
many
재판을
religious
하겠어.
judgments. So living hold on to
그래서
something, why does
붙들고
that
사는
happen?
것이 왜 그러냐면 중생이
That's because
자꾸
many
뭔가
people still believe that there
있다고
is something
생각하고
and they are
고집하는 것이
stubborn
있기
about
때문에
it.
자꾸
And that's
뭔가
why
하나
they
붙들어야
believe
내가
that only
덜
if you hold on
위협받지.
to something, you're less scared.
아. 그래서
So this is a very difficult thing, and
이것은 정말로
others,
어려운 일입니다. 또
they
다른
also
이들은
take the
마음을
mind as the
지혜의
direct
직접적인
object
대상으로
of
삼기도 합니다.
the
그러니까 이
samatha.
마음을 이렇게 사마타를 하는데 이를테면 이 마음을 직접적인 그 지혜 대상으로 삼는다는 것은 이를테면
For example, having the gift phrase and with the mind that has the doubt about it, having the concentration to the mind that has a doubt and making it to one thought, this is similar to what's saying here. So when we recite the mantra, saying 관세음보살, 관세음보살, but I'm saying this again and again, but the mind is like
마음이라는 것은
the mind is adhering to make it to one. So also the mind has its property to flow into one, not into, never into. So even Sakcha Monastery, we did this before. The all people who are here.
내가 이 앞에서는 이렇게 열심히
in front of me,
하나만
uh,
간세모사를
in front of me
받는데
when I tell them that you have to recite only one religiously,
그
and
나한테 물어보면
when I ask them,
뭐
you do
요즘
it
열심히
hard
하죠.
nowadays,
예,
right?
열심히
And
합니다.
they say yes. I
관세음보살을
say
500번
관세음보살
하고
500 times,
아미타불 500번
Amitabha
하고
500 times,
시장보살을 500번
and
하고
also
그렇게
many.
합니다.
And also,
또 누가
since
가니까
some said
강명지론이
the
좋다.
other
그
one is good for
애들한테
my
좋다고 해서
child, I also recite
강명지론이
that many
불발가지라고 또
times. You
강명지론 또
shouldn't do
하고
that.
그렇게 합니다. 그렇게 하면 안 돼. 예?
Since you don't know what's good,
뭐가 좋은지 모르게 그냥
but all
그냥
people,
하여튼
they
그
don't
이제
have
이
the sense of
노보살들은 이제 그
discrimination.
분별력이 분별해가
So
없으니까
they go
분별해가 없으니까
somewhere
가서 이제
and
아이고
say,
우리 신임은
um, our
간세음보살
monk asked
열심히 하죠.
us to do
간세음보살
Gansenbosal,
그러는데
and
소절에 가가지고 가니까
but in some other
그냥
monastery
늙으면
they
이제
said we
곧
have to
극락을 가야
recite for
되니까
Amitabha
아미타불
in order
불러야
to go
된다고 또
to
이제
heaven. I
나무 한
shouldn't
탑을
go to
하다가
heaven.
에이 지옥
I
가면 안
shouldn't go
되니까
to hell.
또
So I call
지장보살
for
불렀다가
Chijangbosa, and
아
also
간세음보살
the brother
해명이 또
of, and so
대세지보살이라고
they do a lot of things.
그거가 더 센 거 같아. 그러니까 이게 센 걸 불렀다가
And
이제
they call out for so
하여튼
many
뭐
different
이것저것
gods
부르다가
and
그러다가 또
bodhisattvas.
가만 생각해
And
보니까
so they
아이고
also
이게
do Gangmyeongjinam
어두우면
because
안 된다고
they
강명진원을
shouldn't have the
써보면 또
darkness.
밝아진다고 그러니까 또
So they don't know
강명진원을
which
그러니까 어느
medicine is
어느
better,
약이
but they
다른지
just
몰라
pick
그냥
up every
뭐
medicine and
이것저것 그냥 막
uh,
주워서
use
하는데
it.
그러나
But the
원리는
theory
한
or
가지이기 때문에
the
이것저것 했으면
essence is
절대 안
one.
돼요.
So you should
그 두
do only
가지로 나가면
one.
안 되고
Whether it
하나만
is
의지하고 그러는데
관세음보살,
관세음보살은 뭐
you
관세음보살로
have
그
to keep doing it
계속
so
굽고
that
나가야 돼.
the
굽고
karma
나가서
that's
업이
moving
마음에서
inside your
왔다 갔다 하는
mind, you
것이
have to
자꾸
make them
하나가 돼서
disappear.
그게 사라지게끔 만들어줘야 돼. 그렇게 돼야 돼.
So even when you do,
그러면서 자꾸 간세음보살 간세음보살 하면서
you shouldn't even have
간세음보살을
many
하는 이놈이
distracting
뭐고 그래도
thoughts.
안 돼. 그것도 안 돼. 간세음보살 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 그러면서 떠올리는
Having the image
간세음보살을
and
떠올려서
also
거기에
concentrating
집중하면서
to your
말을
mind,
말에다
or
집중하고
even in
이것도
your
분리가
the
됐어.
verbal speeches, they also become two
하나만 하면
different
돼.
things. So it should also not happen. You should only do to one. But
이거라
even
그러는 거
doing that,
자꾸
you still say, oh, in
또
one monastery, the
어디저기
monk said
가니까
no.
그것이 안
Please don't
그렇다는
say
지금
something like that. And also, do not
그래서
go
어디
to those
어디저기 그렇게 하지
teachings
마.
where they do not have the proper knowledge. And
그래서
also,
이제
since the
수행 수준이
asceticism practice
낮으니까
level is low,
어디
when you
다니면서
go around,
해야 어디 또그
just like some group
기독교
meetings
부흥회
where,
하는데
like
비슷한 데 찾아가가지고
Christianity, you go and say, you just go follow places where they say, oh, I am
그런 데나
very
찾아다니면
sorry
안 돼.
and you have done wrong.
고아무개라고. 그런
You
데나
go those places
찾아다니면 또 막
and
그냥 무슨 뭐
even the questions that were even
지문이라고
given,
나와 있는데 보니까
I
뭐
saw it
내가
on YouTube.
뭐 유튜브에 올라 있으니까 봤어. 보니까 스님 그 아들이
My
며느리
son
될 애를
brought
하나 데리고
someone
하는데
to
애가
be
눈이
my
좀
daughter-in-law,
삐죽쳤어.
and her
그런데
eyes were very
결혼을
slanted.
하라
Should
그러면
I let them get
되겠습니까? 라는
married?
질문이야 개떡이.
Is that a question or what?
개떡 소리 안 한다 그러는데
They spend the
그런
whole
거를 한
hour
시간 하고 앉았는데
doing
가지고
talking about this.
그런
What's
소리
that
하고
got to
하니
do
그건 뭐
with your
수행하고 뭔
practice?
상관이야.
If there's a
근데
question
그러면서
like that,
얘기하면
we
네가
just
알아서 해라
ask you
그러고
to do
말지 뭐.
whatever you wish
그
to.
알아서 하라 그러지.
And if there's someone who
그뭐
likes
눈이
eyes like
촉촉해지는 거
that,
좋아하는 사람은
well,
지
it should
아들
be
눈이
good if
축축해졌으면
the
며느리가
son's
올라가서
eyes are
좋을 거 아니야.
like very
그런데
the
애가 한
opposite
눈에
way.
걸리고 안 되지. 한쪽 눈 올라가고 한쪽 눈 내려가면 그건 안 되잖아.
For something like that, going after those kind of teachings is quite useless to go. Well, when I went there were a lot of people. If you want to go to a place where there are a lot of people, then you should go to places like Iran. I heard that during the Ramadan, there are so many people that some people also stamp to that.
그냥 빙빙 돌다가
While they were going around the Mecca, a lot of people were like stabbed
사람
to
많은 거
death.
아니야.
such practitioners should actually
이런 순위가 사실
concentrate on
명상의식에 집중을 해야 돼.
clear
그러니까
consciousness. So you don't
명상의식에
actually
집중을 하는 것이 아니라
pay attention to the
명료한
clear
이게
consciousness, but
생각이
you have
죽어버리지
to try
않는
to make it into
상태를
a
만들어
state
나가야
where
되는
the
거죠.
thoughts doesn't
이게 지금
die
내가
off.
얘기한 게 세밀하게 하도 이제 엉터리로
Since
자꾸
many
뭐
people
흘려가
make
자꾸
mistakes
해가지고
about
자꾸
this, I'm
틀리니까
telling
내가
this in very
세밀하게 얘기를
detail,
하니까
so
잘
listen
들어주세요.
carefully. So while
그래서
doing this, for example, even when
요걸
you're
하는데
reciting a
예를
mantra,
들면 연부를 하는데도 관세음보살, 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 관세음보살,
or reciting 관세음보살, 관세음보살, 관세음보살.
관세음보살, 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 그래 그게
Also, there are some
관세음보살,
people who
관세음보살. 또
says
어떤 사람은
관세음보살, 관세음.
관세음,
The accent is given to 관.
관에 자꾸 집중을 해라 그러는데 그렇게 하는 게 관세음보살 때
Well, when
관세음보살,
you are saying
관세음보살
관세음보살,
이러면서
you're
내가
actually
지금
hearing the
소리를 들린다는
sound,
얘기죠.
and your thoughts
듣고서
shouldn't die
그게
with it.
생각이 죽어버리지
And together
말아라 그
with the
뜻이야.
thought, it
그
has to
생각으로 계속 영역으로
continuously be
연필처럼
connected. So it
이어나가라
has
그
to be
말이거든.
very clear.
그래서
The
명료해야 돼.
sense
그
that
이어나가는
continuous breathing should
그것이
be very
명료해야
clear.
되는데
But there are some people who
관세음보살,
does it off. It shouldn't happen.
이렇게 돼버리면 안 된다 그 말이야. 관세음보살, 관세음보살,
You shouldn't
관세음보살
also
이런
have
제목이
some
아니라
different thoughts while you
그래도
do
안 되고.
while you recite the 관세음보살.
그런 생활
Shouldn't be
도구가
you
된다는
shouldn't
거
fall into
엉뚱하게
slumber
돼버리면
and
안
your
되고
thoughts shouldn't be
노릇하게 하나로
distracted,
쭉
but it should be clear
관세음보살,
and you should
관세음보살,
be
관세음보살,
one.
관세음보살 이거로 이어나가 그렇게
It's same
이어나가면
as
하루가
the
일념으로 드는 것이랑
speech head is
똑같다는 말이야.
actually going on
그러면
one
아미타불을
thought,
나무 아미타불 나무
and
아미타불
it's the
하면 그것이
same. So
일념으로 이어나가는 거
whatever
똑같기
you're holding
때문에
on to
어떤 것을
here,
잡고서
well, there's
흘러가도
also a
설사
saying in
나
olden
옛날에
time.
그런 말 있잖아요. 어떤
One
할머니가 절에
lady went
갔는데
to monastery
관세음보살
and
지장보살
so
염을
she
갖다
was doing
부지런히 하라 그러니까
지장보살. She was
내려오다
asked to
산
do
건너다가
지장보살
무릎을 꿇었어.
religiously, but when she was
도랑을
actually
건너다 이제
coming down and
신발 안
crossing
지르려고
the
집신
valley,
벗고 이제 부상 벗고 이렇게
she forgot
나
what
절에
to
간다고
do.
부상까지 다 신고
But in
갔는데
olden times,
내려오다가
there was no bridge,
옛날에는
right?
다리가 없잖아.
And
그러니까
so while she was
기둥다리
just
건너니까
taking off
발이
her
디디다 그냥 다
socks, she
벗겨가지고 막
forgot about
지장보살
지장보살. So
잊어버렸어.
no matter how much she
아무리
thought, she couldn't
생각해도
even
도로 몇십
find a
미터
way
올라가
how to do
무릎을
it.
꿇고
It was some
이게
보살,
무슨 보살일까 뭔 보살 그런데
and when she
그러고 이제
saw
집세기를 보니까
the shoes that she
집세기보살
was holding on to, she remembered that it was the shoes, and so she just and she misunderstood or remembered the wrong way that 지장보살 was 집세기보살, and she did it so hard, and she did it for 1 year, and a lot of has calmed down, and so she went up and said, the 집세기보살 that you taught me was so great, and it has calmed my mind a lot, and my home is also at peace.
가정이 평안해졌습니다.
And also in the house there is uncomfortable state because there are also many cases that you cause a problem. So only if you become comfortable, your surroundings will become comfortable too. The wavelength that you have caused is so great.
가장이 엄청 크니까. 그러니까 지가 집세기불 하면서 집세기보살 그러면서 가라앉아도 상당히 집안이 평안해.
If you calm down, then the whole house calms down greatly. So when the monk was having the glance, well, he said he also responded that 집세기보살 is a great one. And because she also gained her strength. So with each step she took, she was reciting it. So it doesn't lie with the names. And she was almost at the stage that she could meditate while walking. It doesn't matter whichever name that you follow.
백양사에서 그러는데 아이고 아마 젊어서 시집 가서 아마 뭐 좀 안 좋은 일이 계셔가지고 이혼을 하시고 가서 얼마나 환장속이 돼서 온 산으로 정신이 오락가락해서
The lady, when she went to Pyeongsa's Manyang lady, and she was told they would stay in this monastery and recite mantras, and she also misunderstood 관세음보살, and instead she said 관음보살. And the old lady, and her, although she's very short, her voice is very sharp, and so she was reciting. It's not even 관세음보살, but 관음보살.
간세음도 아니고 간암보살이에요. 췌장암이 아니고 간암이야. 그래 간암보살.
Because she said
하도
that
그러고
so
돌아다니니까 이제
loudly,
추기스님이
and also since many people
불러가지고
were making
여자들이 다
fun of her,
시키고 다 그러니까
so the
바로
head monk called
가르쳐준다고.
her
아이고
and said
보살이
it's not
간암보살이 아니고
Kanambosal, but it's
관세음보살입니다 그랬더니
Kwanseum. Oh well, is that
그렇습니까?
so? I
잘못
heard
들어가지고 큰
the
스님한테
wrong
잘못
one
듣고
from the head monk. And so when she tried to do with
관세음보살이니까 사실 그게 안
Kwanseum,
됐어.
she was not able to concentrate
이게
because
간암보살이 이게 붙어가지고
she was already
그러니까 큰
having the
스님한테 가서
concentration
이제
with
질문을
Kanambosal.
했지.
So she went to
그
uh,
내가 참
the old
잘못해가지고
monk and
스님이
asked,
말씀해
I'm very
주시는데 내가
sorry,
잘못
I
듣고서
heard wrong from you,
간암보살
and
들어가고
now
그게 힘이
when I
붙어가지고
try to change it to
관세음보살하니까 그냥 번뇌가
Kansenbosar,
막 일어나고
a
잘
lot
안
of agony
되니까 어떻게 하면
arises, and I'm not
좋겠습니까?
able
그러니까
to do it. Okay,
아
call the head monk.
주직은 일로 오라고 공부하는 것은 아무나
Study is not something that
배웠다고
everyone
가르쳐
can
주는 게
teach just
아니냐 저리
because they
가라
have learned.
힘이 있는
The
사람이
one
그
who
길을 아는
knows the
사람이
way, when
가시친
they
길을 가지
decide,
하건
the teacher has
오솔길을
to
가지
decide
하건
whether it is the
그건
road,
그 스승이
the
해야 될 일이지
good road that
그
they
밑에
take,
애들이
or the
해서는 될 일이
road with
아니야
the
우리
mountains.
스님이 그렇게 얘기하다가
Is
니도 한번 해봐라 그래
so the
그렇게
old
얘기한 거
monk called
아니냐
the head
그래서
monk and
주지를
said, kneel
불러놓고
down
이놈아 무릎
with the
꿇어라
other sattvas
예.
beside.
보살 옆에 앉아보고 니놈은 가르치지 네가
You should
그러면
start teaching.
조시를 해라 내가
I
가르쳐
told
내가
I told her it
간암보살이라고
is
내가
Kanambosar. Why do you
가르치는데
say
네가 왜 그런 소리를
so?
하냐
Haven't you even read the
니는 나
sutras?
경전도 안 봤냐
Don't you know that
간암보살이
Kanambosar is
관세음보살인데
actually the
형님인데
brother
네가
of
뭐하냐
Kwanseum? And the head monk was
주지가 얼굴이
frustrated,
돌아가지고 네 잘못했습니다 제가 몰라가지고요
and he said, "I'm very sorry. Well, Kanambosar is very strong. Is also a brother, so I'm also, and
그래가지고 기운을
and so
얻어가지고
and the lady gained more strength and
내가 니한테만 가르치는
and you
아주
and
비법이니까
the lady gained
그
more
대중들이
strength
어떻게 말든지 그거는
and recited the mantra more loudly,
걱정하지 말고 하라고 했대요. 그래 막 간암보살이 그냥 해서 그 양반이
and
그 정신이
her
올라가는 게다
her mentality, which was also having a little distraction, also got straightened. And while living the whole life, if it's just someone normal person, they could also think that well, since it has relaxed a lot, shall I get married? She didn't even think so, but she spent the whole life doing her work.
그러니까 그 보살은
She had a
그래도 뭐가
great
하나
strength, that she had a good faith to her teacher. She did not even have a little doubt, and in the end, after the monk passed away, she came to know that it was Kwanseum Bosal. But at the time, she was able to proceed with her practice, whether it's Kanam Bosal or Kwanseum Bosal.
그래서 이거는 방법이
So here the method to suppress and also to concentrate is important, but it doesn't really matter whether it is Kansenbosal or Kwananbosal. It's also okay if it's Mondani Bosal. So when you say Kansenbosal, 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 I'm making the sound now. And each time that I make the sound, the thought that the Kwanseum shouldn't die and should be carried on. And also, if there's a speech, if there's a sound, there shouldn't be any doubts about it, any other thoughts about it. That's the main motivation for doing this. Then samatha is cultivated. Then it starts settling down.
사마타가 돼, 지가 돼, 가라앉혀진단 말이야. 점점 그럼 가라앉아져.
This is concentrating to mind itself. Of course, it is not easy to do this. It's not easy because the mind keeps running away. There is no phone if there's a foam, then we can just use a rope and tie somewhere. But even when we tie our body to the pillar, the thoughts move around. That's why it's not easy. That's why other than the practicing samatha practicing method in Buddhism, there is nowhere which is actually found a way to keep it at a place. And if the mind dies, it falls into slumber. It just disappears. But if you just leave it to the way that it actually moves around, then it goes everywhere. And so if we tie it down, so monks in wooden times, they say, where if you go to monasteries, you have seen you have seen the picture that's looking for a cow. Finding the cow, they say we are found. Some people think that we are looking for something, but it is not so. Well, but when we are at the stage where we have experienced the voidness, that's almost like a cow without any boundaries, moving around, eating every grains, and finding it. We put it to a place and we try to teach it, and it's not like after teaching it we use it, but after training it after training our mind with one aspiring thought, we also realize that there is not even the aspiring thought and it's a void. And this way we call it Buddhism. This way.
요 길을 불교라고 그래. 요 길을.
First, you have to experience the clear consciousness. After that, the mind, through the recollection, with the help of recollection, can concentrate two senses. In reality, it's written that you have to experience a clear consciousness. After that, with the help of recollection, you can concentrate at senses. Well, here, experiencing the clear senses refers to when the samatha is cultivated up to a certain level. The dhyana of sattva, bodhisattva, about 8 or 9 stage, the mind doesn't come as an agony, but it comes as very clean and very clear mind. The mind should never die. The Buddhist meditation. So we ask you not to close your eyes or to not even open too broadly. The Hinduism meditation you're supposed to do with the closed eyes, even Taoism, but in Buddhism we tell you not to close your eyes. Because if you close your eyes, then you might feel sleepy. And as you pass the 8th stage, you have the as you pass the 8th stage, and only if you experience a clear consciousness, then step by step, even if you don't try your best to continue it, it happens to you. Then at the time concentration or concentrating, even if you don't try to concentrate, the concentration will be there for you, and that's almost like just like you are on the slider, you can slide down just like that. You can start off with your concentration. Then entering into the first stage of dhyana is not difficult, not too far, or it doesn't take too long for your distracting thoughts and also the agony to disappear. Mind has too many different shapes.
마음은
Uh,
너무나 다양한 모습을 가지고 있습니다.
that's
그래서
why
내적인
it's
대상을
you
인식하고
cannot just
판단하지
justify
그렇게
this
정의할 수 있는 것은
how
아닙니다.
you
마음에는
intake or
색깔이나 형체에
uh,
눈도 없습니다. 단지
make your
감각과
judgments for your
경험에 의한
appearance.
맑음의 힘이 있을
There's no
뿐입니다.
color or
그러니까
shape
마음이라는 것은
to
이게
the mind.
우리가 얘기한 대로
It's
무슨
just that there is a
빛깔이 있는
clear
것도
consciousness
아니고 이게
depending on
또
the senses and also your
또 무슨
experience.
뭐 형체가 있는 것도
It's almost
아니고
like water
그게
that
일어났다가
has many different
마치 그냥
colors. Mind
바람처럼
is
일어나서
something
바람처럼
that
사라지는
just
거예요.
comes with the wind and goes like a wind, and
그러니까
it's
이걸
very
붙들고
difficult to hold
넘어진다는
on to
것이
this. And if
굉장히
I also
어려운
make
일입니다. 그런데 또
another
이제 내가
criticism,
하나 비판하면
where
이제
those people who claim
소선수원을
to
한다고 이제
practice
잘못
the
배우고 하는
Hinayana,
사람들이
they sit down
그
and
앉아서
they say,
마음이
observe how
일어나는
your
것을
heart
살피고
arises.
있으래.
Then that's almost like you're just
그뭐
looking at the
알지랭이 살피고
temperature
있는 거랑 똑같아.
rising. Then what are you going to do
그
if you
일어나는 걸
see the
살피고
mind
또 일어나면 어떡하냐.
arising? If you do that, then the mind never
그렇게
stops.
하면 끊어지질 않아.
It's almost like water that
마치
has
여러
many
가지
different colors.
색깔의
Water that's mixed
물과
up with so many
같습니다.
different
여러 가지
colors. It's
색깔의
difficult to
색깔이
see
섞인
its actual
물은
color.
원래 색깔을 보기가 힘듭니다. 그러니까 이제 그런데 이 마음이
But the mind doesn't have color, shape,
무생무치하고
and
그냥
also it
소리
just
없이 일어나고 형체
the
없이
mind is
일어나기
the
때문에
thoughts. They just
때문에
arises with
이게 참으로
anything.
이
So
고정되어 있는
there's
실체가
nothing
하나도
concrete
없어요.
about
그래서
it, and
전부 다
everything
업 따라
comes as
일어납니다.
with your karma.
자기
And if you
업 따라서
wonder how
일어나는
did
그래서
the person
어떻게
have
저
that
사람이
kind of
저런
idea,
생각을
that's
했을까?
because the
그
person
사람이
has
그런
that
눈이
sort
있기
of
때문에 그런
karma, so
생각을 해.
that kind of thought also arises. I'll give you an example.
내가 이제 하나 예를 들게요.
Our
우리나라가
country, we had the Korean War,
6.25를 겪고 그렇기 때문에
and so we have a very strong
지금
military.
군대가 굉장히 강력하잖아요, 그죠?
There are not so many people who
60만
has
대군을
as
갖고 있는
many
나라가 전 세계에 별로
military
없어요.
members as we do.
이북 같은 경우는 그 인민군이 뭐 110만인가 뭐 115만인가 얼마를 갖고 있는. 그 남북 합하면
We
거의
have
200만에
almost
가까운 정규군을
like 2
갖고
million
이
military if
그런데
we
이제
add
이게
both
군이라는
Korean,
것이
South Korea
전부
and
다
North Korea.
사실상은
But
어쩔 수 없는
inevitably,
일이지만
both of
사람
them
죽이는
are
훈련을
practicing
하거든요.
how to kill people. And
그러니까 아주
so it's
극단적인
natural
보수
that
성향을
they
띨
have
수밖에
very
없어요.
conservative idea. So very conservative
그래서
colors. So
빨리 가서 통일돼서
we have to
그런 어를
unify two
키우는 것을
countries soon,
많이
so
줄여야
that we
됩니다.
have to reduce killing or
남북한을 위해서
reduce those
자꾸
source of
줄이면서
karmas. If I
그
give an
업에
example,
지금
Afghanistan,
내가 예를
place
하는가 하면
like
아프가니스탄
Afghanistan,
있잖아요, 그죠?
because
아프가니스탄
they have
같은
been
경우는
invaded
외국
by other
침공을 너무 많이
countries too
당했어.
often.
거기가 거의
It's a place where
동서
both
회랑이 돼가지고 외국 침범을 너무 많이
the
당했는데
Asia
그렇기
and Europe
때문에
can
그
both
사람들이 전부 다 무장
invade.
저항을 갖다
So they
엄청
have
몇백
been
년
invaded
동안
by so
무장
many
저항을 한 거야.
different
그러니까
countries
사람들이
since they are the
전부
passage
떼끄덕을
to
쳐들어간 거야.
the west and east, and so they have
그래
been
막 군벌이 많고 파벌이 생겨가지고 파벌이 전부
and they are very
떼끄덕까지 가요.
violent because of
그러니까 폭력성으로
so many
우습게 가는
invasions,
거야.
and also
그래서 그렇게
also because
시간이
of
오고 나면
history.
그
The
폭력성
sense of
때문에
violence it
나중에
also happened
폭력성이요.
with
일본도 그랬어요. 일본
Japan
임대란 있잖아요. 그죠?
when they
우리나라
invaded
쳐들어온
Korea.
임대란도 일본의 그 사무라이들 칼제비들을 갖다가 칼제비들을
After Toyotomi
요토미가
invaded the
고기를
whole
갖고 와서
country,
이게 이걸 어떻게 처리할
he didn't
방법이
know what
없어.
to do with the samurais,
전부 다
because
칼들고 그
if
사람들
you don't
군대가 나
try
보면
to
전부
control the
사우파이 돼서
samurai,
난장판이
then
됩니다. 그러니까
the country
자기는
is a
외국으로
mess. So
운동하자
actually, they
보냈지.
sent the whole samurais to Korea. So
그러니까
in Korea, a
우리
person like
우리나라
Yulgogo
유복이라든지
since
이승용이라든지
they
이런
knew
사람들은
the
일본의 그런 상황들을 알고 또
situation
우리나라
in
분명히 저
Japan, and they knew
부사들이
that those
저럴 것이다라는 것을
samurai
갖다가
would come to
알았다는 거죠.
Korea.
그래서
So
전쟁
they asked
준비하자고 그러니까
Sonjo to
선조는
prepare for the war, but Sonjo did not believe, and we also obeyed the Myeong dynasty. And for 7 years, many people died in Korea.
수백만이 죽는 상황이 벌어졌잖아. 그러니까 그 까르마의 업을 갖다
So
강력하게
having a strong
자존심을 갖고 있다는
military,
것은 그게
well, when there's an
적이 있을
enemy,
때는
we
그게
actually
대처를 해야
are
되는데
putting some
이
energy
인내
there.
쪽으로 향하면
But if there is no enemy, if it's facing inwards, then there could be coup d'etat, or also there could be no democracy, and the country could go backwards.
지금 후진국으로 떨어져 버렸잖아요.
There's only
단지 감각과 경험에 대한
it's
만족은
like
이제
there
신경 쓸 뿐이다. 마치 여러
it's
가지
it's
색깔이
just like the
물도
water
물과
that
같은
has
겁니다.
many
그
different
색깔이
colors
섞인
and
물은 본래 색깔을 보기
it's
힘들어.
difficult to find
마찬가지로
the
마음도
original color.
물질적인 모습과 같은 외적인 형상을 가지고 있지 않습니다. 그러나 마음은 다섯 가지 감각의 의식에 너무 물들어 있습니다.
Likewise,
그러니까
mind also
내
does not have
아집이라는 게
any
있고
physical
아집에
or any
의해서
external
좋고
appearance.
나쁜 것을
However,
갖다가
the mind is too colored
구분해가지고
by five different
것들에
senses.
의해서
So,
업에
depending on your karma,
따라서
the
내
color
마음의
of your
색깔,
mind gets
모양이
decided.
그렇게 돼 있단 말이야. 나온단 말이야.
In this way, the polluted mind that we
이렇게
experience,
해서 우리가
we are on the
경험하는
verge where
우리의
we are not
마음은
able
그렇게
to make
물적현상이나
any
색깔로 구분할 수
classification
없는 상태에 있습니다.
of
따라서
color
마치
or
실제로
even the
있는 것처럼
appearance, but
느끼게 된다.
and
그러니까
therefore we feel
업에
that it
의해서
actually
그렇게 이제
exists.
되지만
Well, for
그 때문에
example,
우리가
if you have a
도둑질을
karma
하는
that's
법을
very
강하게 갖고
strong
있는
with
사람이
your
왜
theft,
아이
then
도둑질 안 하면 되잖냐
then even
그게
if you
아무 데
say
되냐고
you're not
자기
going to
업이
steal
그래가지고
anything, it
마음이
doesn't work
도둑질을 하는
because your
마음 때문에
karma
안
is so
일어나.
strong. So from the mind,
그게
it should
마음으로부터
happen
이게
that you're
도둑질을
not
안
going to
할
steal.
마음이 일어나야
But
되는데
even the mind that you
도둑질을
said
안
you're
할
not going to
마음이라고
steal,
일으킨 것도
although
결과적으로
that has arised,
도둑질을 할 마음을
that has arisen on the
전제로 해서 일어난
basis
말이야.
of your thought of
그게
stealing.
쉽지 않거든
So
이게.
when you
우리가
say you're not going to smoke,
담배를 안 피워야지. 담배 꼴초다.
what does it
그러면
mean?
담배를 안 피워야지. 그거는 무슨 얘기야?
Smoking, the karma
담배를
of
피운
smoking
걸
is on it's
피운 그
the
업을
basis of
전제로 해서
not
일어난 말이죠,
smoking.
그죠?
So
그러니까
while you
담배를
say you're
안
not going
피워야지
to smoke,
그러면서 그
so the
앞에
thought
담배
before
안 피워야지
that thought
그 생각이
is
나오기
actually
전부터는
well,
담배
that
피우는
thought only
것을
arises if you only
생각
think
일으켜야 그게
of
나오거든.
smoking.
그러니까
So
담배를
you
안
think that you're
피워야지
not going to
그러면
smoke,
손을
but
꽂는
your
거야.
hand is actually going into your pocket because you're
그 앞에
actually
일으킨
enacting
생각대로
the
행동이
previous
이루어지기
thought,
때문에
and so that's why it is scary.
이게 무섭다는 거야. 이게 이제 무섭다. 그래서
And so the habits that's been raised like this, you feel that they are actually there. So that's a problem. You feel that they exist in reality. So the only way to stop this is
그렇기 때문에 이걸 끊는 방법은 내가 담배를 안 피워야지 그
by
생각을
starting of not smoking,
갖는
thinking of
것으로부터
not smoking, and you
시작해서
have to put that into
그걸
action. And also, you
행동화시키면서
through
이게
the
염불이나
recitation
이쪽으로
of mantra
명상을
or
통해서
meditation,
왜냐하면
the
생각이
thought has to well, for example, if your thought gets
만약에
concentrated to
간세음보살이
Avalokitesvara,
집중이 되어
then the
버리면
thought itself,
생각 자체가
that your thought of smoking
자꾸 담배를
becomes
피워야지 하는
lighter.
생각이 옅어져. 자꾸 옅어져. 마음의
The mind
업에
decided off from the karma
업으로부터
because
일어난
it
마음이
gets
자꾸 옅어지니까
weaker and
그러면 안
simultaneously
피우는
together
것과
with not
같이 동시에
smoking
안
and
피워야 되겠다고 하는 자각이 일어난과 동시에 내가
even the
마음에 일어나는
strength
능력도
that's rising
옅어지니까
from
이게
your
끊어지는
mind
게
also
어려운
weakens. That's why we say Kodes
그래서 우리가
Samatha,
그걸 사마타란 말은
that it is stopping.
그친다라는 뜻이야. 음력을 갖다 스톱시킨다 그 말이야.
In this way,
이러한
exorcism
점에서
practice
수행은 모든
is
종류의
actually
생각을
stopping all
일시간
different types of
의도적으로
thoughts
멈추는
and
것입니다.
also awareness
그러니까 그 음력도를
deliberately.
하거나 이건 사마타라는 것은 생각에 일어난 여러 가지 잡되고 이러쿵저러쿵 것들을
So
갖다
samatha
전부
means
다
stopping all the thoughts and all this and that thing that's arising. And if you stop,
스톱시키면 마치 우리가 한
if you stop
강우기
them,
속에 뭐
just like in a
이것저것
basket, which is a
작동해서
very,
되게
very,
복잡하면
just like a basket that has many different things. If it's too cumbersome to find whatever you want, then what do? We just turn it upside down.
뭐 이것저것 다 들어가지고
And we
뒤적거리고
put
찾는 게 안
everything on
보여.
the
왜?
floor,
다
and
덮어가지고
well,
땅바닥에 쫙
if you empty the whole thing to the floor, then the basket becomes empty. Then you just put whatever you require. Just like making an empty basket, it should happen so.
그렇게 돼야 돼.
First, you have to start off from keeping the
잡아두는
keeping the
것이에요.
sensuous
그러니까
cognition
우선
to one place.
여러분이
So when you
이
say you're doing
사만담을
samantha,
한다라고
the
했을
five
때
senses
했을 때
and
이 오감과 그리고 의식이 일어나는
you have to stop the
이
senses where
감각들을
your
우선 좀
consciousness
좁히게
or
돼.
awareness
그러니까
arises.
뭐냐면
Well, if you say someone is doing the
누가 뭐
musical
음악 명상을
instrument,
한다고
uh,
막
because of
띵까띵까
this
하면서
sense
하면
that
그거는 이
you're not
감각
able to do
때문에
the
명상이 안
meditation
돼.
because you have
그걸로
a
가버리지.
distraction. So sensuous
그러니까
things, whether it is the
감각적인 것을 좀
smelling or
이
hearing or
미각이라든지
sight or
후각이라든지 또는
taste or even
시각이라든지
touch,
또는 청각이라든지 또는 촉각이라든지
in these
이런
sensuous aspects,
감각적인
you have
부분에
to become a little
자꾸 이렇게
blunt.
무던해져야 돼.
So those people who
그래서
actually
선호를 한다는
practice
사람들은
the
대체로
even they
단박해져.
become
뭐야?
very kind of
단박해져.
very simple. They are out to become very simple because
단박해질 왜냐면 감각으로
if
자꾸
you are
치닫는
becoming very
그러니까
sensuous,
감각으로 치닫는
what
것은
does
결국은
that mean?
뭐냐면 전부 다가
Due to my own
내가
karma,
내
due to
업력에
my own
실컷
strength,
좋건
uh,
이
you
겉으로
aspire for
판단해서
something that's
전부 다 좋은
good
것은 계속
in
감각적으로
your
촉구를 하게 돼
senses,
있고
and those things
싫은
which you
것은
despise, you
버리고
tend
나가지
to get
못하고
rid of them.
그렇게 된단 말이야.
So when we recite
그래서 이제
관세음보살,
우리가
관세음보살,
관세음보살 그러면 이제 에, 내가
we have to
마음을 갖다가
concentrate our mind to
그
관세음보살,
관세음보살에
and
집중을 하면서
the thoughts that
감각적으로
has been
이렇게
going
바깥으로 치달았던
outside
생각이 안으로
or
내관돼
was
있는
only
안으로
facing
이제
outside should
마음이 마음이 바깥으로
stop
전부 다
and
치달았던
look
것을 다
inside.
안으로 딱
And
이렇게 우선 스톱해서
we have to enable so
그
that the
마음이
mind gets
관세음보살에
concentrated to
집중이 되도록
관세음보살, whether it is
해야
the
되는 거예요.
head
요 하두에
or
집중되든지
it is the
또는 뭐
speech or
진흙에
it is
집중되든지
the
또는 호흡에
breathing, it is the
집중되든지
breath.
이렇게 집중이 되도록 해주는 거야.
So the sensuous consciousness that experiences happiness and suffering should stop.
해야 됩니다. 그러니까
So when you are only looking for something good, well, when you do the meditation,
이를테면 명상을 하는데 조금
if we have
힘 고통이 있다.
if we have suffering and also some happiness, you should not follow the suffering or happiness.
예, 그 명상을 하면서 그게 집중을 해주면
If the concentration is there, the suffering, funnily, if we follow the suffering,
고통이라는 것을 갖다 따라가 버리면 이게
then we maximize the suffering and we make the suffering greater.
더 고통스럽게 만들어 버린다.
And what is the end of the suffering? It is depression and it is suicide.
자살이라는 것으로 가는 거야.
Then happiness, even
그럼 우리가 감각적으로
the happiness, although we say that this sense is happiness, we also have happiness of sight and also taste and hearing.
시각적으로도 즐거운 것이 있고
The thing that makes us happy in hearing, well, the more you age, for example, the more you age, you say, oh, how can you look so young? Those things, they make you very happy to listen to. You should not follow those things.
그들을 쫓아가면 안 돼. 그럼 이제 아이고 어떻게
If you say, how can you look so young?
젊어 보이시니까
Deep inside, you have to look what's happening inside your heart, and
내가 지금 청각에서
from the sense organs of my hearing, it's actually making me happy. That's just saying greetings.
그냥 인사말이지.
You have to know that it is just a greeting, and you have to stand. You have to stand firm on your own foot. If someone says you look very young, you shouldn't say, "Oh, is it so?" Even the words, it's just say that you look young. It doesn't mean you're actually young.
소리는 또 아니잖아, 그죠? 그죠?
It's
그럼 뭐
also
보인다고 내가 어떻게 그렇게
if
잘
they come and tell
속였습니까?
you
그
that you look so
웃기기만
young,
해.
you should ask back, how can you fool so well? It's just that the person
내가
is
착각해도 저런 거 보인다
mistaken
그
and
소리지 그죠?
you look young. It's not that
저런 거
you
따라
are
속아도
actually young.
아니고
So there's no need to
그러니까 그 착각을 들어
misunderstand.
자꾸
If you
그런 걸
follow
가지고
those
그걸
senses,
쫓아가면 말이야.
then,
예,
well, I heard that before that beside
가지고 전에 누가
President Park
그랬잖아.
Chung-hee,
박정희 대통령 옆에 누가 가서 막 굉장히
when close to the ear,
귀 가까이 가서
and he
박정희 대통령
whispered
앉아 있는데
something to President Park
가까이 가서
Chung-hee,
이렇게 뭐
and everyone
말하겠대.
is
그러니까
very
다른
curious.
사람이 다 궁금하잖아. 기속말로 했는데.
And so someone
그래가지고
came and
비서실장인가
asked,
누가
what
가까
did the governor say?
도지사가 와서 무슨 말을 하셨습니까? 기속말로 합니다.
where he
이빨을 갖다
where
까가지고
he asked me if
부시러고
I
내가
had
뭐
lunch.
먹는 소리를 갖다 기속
There was a feedback.
그런 거 듣는다고 좋아가지고 그 이제 막 뭐 이제 대통령이 되고 나면 그런 소리 하는
If you
것을
become a president, you should listen to those
잘
things
들어야
well.
돼. 뭐 이승만 박사 가다 방구를 뻥 끼웠다니
When
각하
a
시원하시겠습니다.
president
그 뭐가
farted, they
지금
say,
어디
"Oh, you
완전히
should be
땀
very,
묻은 게
you should have
많고
a very good
기분
digestion
시원하니까 이쁜
system.
냄새
What's
나고.
good about it?" You should not follow those complimentary
그러니까
words.
이게 자꾸 이제 그런 것에 그
It's not
감각적인
okay
것에
if all your consciousness follows
의식이
something that is
따라가면 안 되니까
only looking towards the
항상
sensuous
가만 따라가면
cognition.
되는데 감각적인 것에 따라가면 흔들리게 돼 있어요.
If you only follow them, then you're bound
그
to
이제
sway.
흔들리게 돼 있고
And
자 그래서 이제 이런 것을
the
자꾸
more you age,
하려고 이제 그러면
you
갈수록 이제
you
자꾸
want
높아져
to you
가지고
want to go to higher
자꾸 높은 자리에 올라가고 싶고
positions.
높은 자리에
And
높은 자리로 가면 아이고
if there's
어떻게
someone
이번에
who
장관까지
became
되셨습니까? 아이고
some
장관님
members
축하합니다. 그러면
of
아이고 한
parliament or
70대에서
some
장관되고 와서
minister, then
속을
and if someone comes and compliments you, you become so happy and you are content that you are a
그러고 이제
minister.
자꾸
And
이제 막내기
if
짓을
that happens to you, then you also do many things that are also
그런
wrong.
것이
Then
없다고 70이
in
넘어가지고
about when you're in
장관을
your
뭐
70s, why would you
묻히다고
want to become a minister? That's only because of your
욕심
own
때문에 죽을
greediness.
듯한 거지.
You should not let the mind be
과거의
taken
기억이나
away from
미래의
the memories of your
기억에도
past
얽히지
or
말고
future,
지금
but
이
you should
순간에
concentrate to
집중하십시오.
this moment. Well, someone came to me
그래
before and
그놈이 나한테
said,
와서 그러더라고. 스님
uh, I am difficult.
요즘에
I find it
참선이 잘
difficult
안
to
됩니다.
meditate nowadays. And when
내가
I
네안
wanted
되는
to
이유를
explain to him
설명했다.
what are the
그랬더니
reasons
예
why he
설명해
is not able
드릴게요.
to concentrate, well, when
이
he was
사람이
coming
전에
to the meditation center
선방에 좀
in
몇
the
년
beginning
다닐
for a
때
few
초기에
years,
다닐 때
when it was about
좀
time
조금
that
되려고 할 때 가라앉을 때 그때
he was
생각이 자꾸 나.
actually having a
자꾸 그때쯤
ritual
됐으면
relaxation, he
좋겠는데.
keeps thinking about that moment and saying that
그때처럼
he
됐으면
wants the time
좋겠는데
to
그러니까
turn back
과거로
to that
마음이 가버렸잖아.
past, so he's not
그러니까
able to
현재에 집중을 못
concentrate
한다는 거야.
to present. So
그러니까 역시나 아이고 젊어서 우리
So
어릴
those
때
people who
집에
think that when I
정성화기가
was
100마리
young, I
있었던
had few,
놈은 지금 못 살고
quite a lot
있다고.
of money back at home. Those people who think that they are not
왜냐면
able
지금
to
금송아리가 10마리
live
있으면
properly.
5마리 있을 때 얘기 안
Uh,
하거든.
if you
지금
are rich
금송아리가
now,
하나도
then you are
없다는
not
뜻이죠.
thinking
그죠?
about your past, right?
과거에
So
금송아리가 10마리 있었는데.
one day when you're looking at your
여러분도
album and you
어느
see
날
the
앨범을
times
탁 보다
back
그거
when you were
하는
in high
필름이
school,
있어.
and if
나도
you while putting on
다락방에서 나도
makeup, if you're
고등학교
staying
시절에
back of the
있었어.
time
그러면
of your high school, then you're not
지금의
able
집중을
to
못
come
해.
back to your present.
지금으로 못
Your mind
돌아오고
is still in the
마음은
past,
과거로 회귀해 있고
and you are
지금
actually
나는 널로
aging,
있고
and so there is a
이렇게
double gap
이중갑이
in
생기면서
between. So the
문제가
person is
그
only
사람은
looking forward the
과거
past, and so
지향적이
they're not able to
돼버려서
live
지금 잘 못
the
살아요.
present to the
지금은
fullest.
지금일
The
뿐이야,
past
그죠?
is just a past, and even when you
그런 이제
concentrate, you should
집중하는데도
not worry about the
미래에
things in
대한
your
것도 끌어다가
future
걱정하지
too.
말고
There's no need for you to worry about your future that's not even happened. And if you're worrying about your present, then that's so foolish. What's the point of worrying about something that has not even happened?
아직 안 왔어요. 안 온 것을 끌어다 하는 것은 그 헛개비야, 헛개비. 그래서 그런
So,
시간적으로 가거나 이런
so you
데도
should not
미래에도
lose time to
그
future or even
뺏기지
present.
말라는 거죠.
You should live the
현재 지금
moment
이
to the fullest.
순간순간. 그러니까
Even when you're
여러분
praying, oh, yesterday it was
기도를
very
할
good,
때도요.
but it's not
어떻게
happening well
참석해서
today.
오늘 왜
You
안
should not
되지? 그런
ask
것도 안
those
돼요.
questions too. Whether it happened well
그렇게
yesterday or
자책했더니 말았더니
today,
오늘 또 지금 이 순간에
for every instance you
중간중간
have to recite
간세음보살,
관세음보살,
간세음보살,
관세음보살.
간세음보살,
The thing that you're
지금
concentrating now, you have
집중해
to
나가는
carry on. It's all now,
지금이야.
each moment.
지금 한순간 한순간
Even when we are taking
우리
1,000
철이
steps,
좀
we
한가닥
need to
떨어지네.
take one step
그지?
first.
중간부터 갈
So we
수는
cannot
없잖아요.
just start off from the middle way.
지금
And
이
so
순간
each moment
한순간
now,
한순간을
each of them, one by one,
차근차근하게 이
one
순간
second
하나하나를
is
시간 우리 초가
just like how the seconds go.
째깍째깍 흘러가듯이
Time too,
시간이라는 것도 이 시간이
even the time is living
그
each
순간을
moment to
굉장히
the
중시해야
fullest.
되죠.
So
그 순간이 굉장히 중요해요. 그러니까 간세모살, 간세모살,
So you have to keep continuing to concentrate to Kanzenbosai. There's no need to talk about something that did not work well.
누가 그렇게 묻더라고. 스님 하루에 10,000쯤. 아유,
Where I
이
can
앉아
see that you are
힘들게.
facing difficulty. You're having difficult
야,
time
노래 한곡
sitting
불래.
down. Do you want to come here and sing? What are you good at? What song are you good at?
노래 뭐 잘하냐? 에? 반갑습니다. 반갑습니다. 그거 잘하냐?
You look very talented.
재주가 날렵하게 생겼어. 그래서
So for cultivating samatha, you have to look for each moment, whether it is happening now or not. You have to try for the. You have to do your best for the each moment, and if one of them gets accumulated, then it proceeds on. And those who are not able to study, they say, since I'm busy now, I will try later. But that's all a lie. You don't even know if you'll be alive tomorrow.
아니 저 몰라 혹시 남아프리카 공항에서 듣는 사람 있으면 이해하시오. 그러니까 이 순간순간을
You're just living on each moment, and if you do that, then at some point of time, if that becomes the consequence, then in our mind, many things which are cumbersome because of the agony, they stops.
번거로웠던 것이 뚝 떨어져 나간단 말이야. 그렇게
So it shouldn't be something like, oh, well, I was not able to do it this time, and I will do it next time. But we don't know if the next time, if you will be alive or if I will be alive, or if the condition is not there. We are not certain of anything at all.
조건이 죽었을지 아무것도 알 수가 없어. 알 수가 없잖아요.
We are all sitting here, but tomorrow, tomorrow we could hear the news that there's maybe some of us dead. Could start off with me. How can you be certain that if you'll be alive tomorrow or day after tomorrow or next year? How can anyone be certain of it?
누가 장담을 얻었어?
No one can be certain.
장담 못해. 뭐 장은 담궈도 장담은 못해.
So we have to try our best for each moment
그러니까
and try to
지금 이
cultivate
순간에
samatha.
최선을
And
다해서
if we don't do that, and if
경기를
we lose
사마타
one
같은 경우도 경기를 쭉
opportunity,
안 해나가면
then well,
기회를 한번 잃으면
the
이
opportunity that we
인연의
have right
기회가요.
now, well,
꼭
even
이게
before
우리가
I
가만히
became a
나는
monk when
어릴
I was
때
little,
뭐 출가를 하기도 전에
I
이제
used to sit
그 냇가에
by
앉아서
the
명상을
river
많이 했어요. 지금
and
보면
just
명상이더라고.
observe the water
물이 흘러가는
flowing,
것을 쭉
flowing. And
한참
from
했어요.
what I see now, I think it is a
그럼 이 물이
meditation.
지금 그 이제 그 우리 고향에
The
그
rocks were
냇가를
all
쭉
worn
보면
out and they were
그저
very
아이가
rounded,
따라서
and
매끌매끌 했는데
the
거기
water would
앉아가지고
move
이 물을
and
이렇게 흘려서
also become the
아이의 그
grass on its
피도
way, and
모래도
also
돼가지고
goes
하고
to
바다가 풀이
becomes the
되기도 하고
sand,
풀이 돼서 소의 예?
and
소화
also the
제목해주는
cows eat that
소
grass, and
목이 되기도
also
하고 소
uh,
오줌이 돼서 다시 또
and
내려가면
some
또
water
다른
would go
작물에 풀이
down to
되기도
the
하고
sea and go
또
inside the
어떤 물은
body of the
쑥 내려서
sea,
바다 가서
and
바다에 고기
also it
생존에
becomes
들어가는
cloud,
또
and by
바다에서
becoming the
물이
cloud,
증발돼서 구름이 되기도
it
하고
could also
구름이
come
돼서
here or go
비가 돼서
there.
여기 올 수도 있고 저쪽에 갈 수도 있고 그러잖아요, 그죠?
Even our relations in our life,
그 우리 삶의 인연도 삶에
the
있는
people
지금
that you meet here
석정사에서
in
여러분
Seokjeon
불러서
Monastery
만나는 이 인연이라는
for
게요.
this teaching, it's
꼭
almost
저
like one
물방울
molecule
하나가
of
물의
water
분자 하나가
that if it
멀리
goes,
가다가
then if
소만
it's
먹어버리면
inside the body of cow, then
속에
it's maybe
한
70% of
70%
it is
물때
becoming a
가는데 그게
molecule
하나
inside the
분자가 될
cow,
거고,
and
그죠?
on its way, if it goes to
또 가다가
the sea
또
and
어디 바다로
goes into the
들어가서
seaweed, it's
미역한테
also
들어가면
becoming the
미역 분자가 될
molecule
거고.
of seaweed. So
그럼
even
우리의
our life
삶의
samsara,
윤회하는
the
것도
thing that we meet now,
지금
if I
여기서
observe
만나는
it
것은요.
carefully,
내가 가만히 이렇게 깊이
it's
관찰해
almost
보면
like it's not even
수만 년에 한
one
번
of
만날까 말까 한
opportunity
한가.
that you could meet in about 10 million years. It's not easy. We
근데
just meet for few
그냥
few
잠깐 이게
few
했다가
moments,
흩어지고
and we
사라지고
again depart. Even the thing that we are
순간
meeting
이렇게
once a week,
이게 뭐 일주일에
and
한 번
also
만난다는
we've
것도
been meeting
그렇고
for
이게
30
30년 동안
years,
만난 것
but
같지만도
it's almost like a dot
일주일에 한 번
for a week. So
점
it's
그러잖아요,
just
그죠?
that, like in a month it's
한
four
달에 네
dots.
번 점 찍힌가
So how
하면
many
이게
hours in a week?
시간은 몇 시간? 일주일에 몇 시간이요?
47,
24시간 곱하기
the
7이잖아.
28.
47, 28
So
얼마냐? 어? 138이냐? 어? 160 168이냐?
barely about 160 hours,
그렇게
whether it is 168.
뭐
It's just that,
168이든지 어쨌든 그 정도 분의
and also we have
4분도 안
not
되죠.
met for the whole life. Well, you I have met for about 30 years.
일가보살은 한 30년 만났지만은 또
Her I met about 30 years.
저는 한 30년 만났어. 30년? 보리아 보살하고
84,
또
we met 84, so 32nd year. We
84니까
met for a long
32년째
time.
되게도 오래 만났다.
We met for a long time.
되게도 오래 만났다. 예?
At the time, Kim Mi-ja had quite a good
근데 김민자 씨가
appearance.
그래도
She was
얼굴이
quite good
괜찮았어.
looking. But was she not good looking even that back then?
아니, 그때도 잘 못생겼던가?
It's not like if you draw lines to pumpkin, it becomes
호박에
watermelon.
뭐줄 것 같다고 수박 되는 것도 아니고 그랬던가?
So while meeting for a long time,
오랜 생을
even
만나는
in
가운데서도 이게
it's also
사람으로
difficult to be born as a
태어나서
human,
만나는
and
것도
just
우리
like a
지금
small
물
molecule of
한
water
방울의
with
분자처럼
disperse, and
그렇게
we could have
흩어져서
become something else somewhere
딴 데
far,
가서
and
뭐가 돼 있을 수
through
있고
so
저
much
딴 데
of
가서 뭐가
those
돼 있을 수
samsara,
있고 그렇게
we
그런
meet for a
수많은
short
윤회
period of time,
가운데
and meeting such a
진짜
short period of
이렇게
time is really
잠깐
just for
만난다는
an
것은
instance.
진짜
So
잠깐이다.
when Buddha came to this world,
그래서 우리가 부처님 이 세상에 오셨을 때
when
잠깐
Buddha came to this world,
그 부처님께서 이
we
세상에
listening to
출연하실
the
때 그
teaching and
잠깐
also
우리가
being
가서
there for that time,
나서
unless
그 법문
until you
듣는다는
have
것은
a very strong sense
강력한
to do
의지와
your asceticism
수행하는
practice,
이
even if you go
내용이
there, you
아니면
will not realize where
답습해
you are
있는 걸
really
봐도
at.
모르지.
So the relation that we are meeting amongst the numbers that we cannot even count. Well, I have written a poem last time. It's almost like a small dot in unlimited count. It's just merely a dot.
무량겁 가운데 한 점이구나.
You're going to write there?
그따 적으려고?
Are you writing phone number? Or just remember something?
어? 생각난 게.
It is just a dot.
그렇게 무량겁 가운데 한 점이에요.
If we think of it now, then we also assume that since we met this life, we will also meet next life. But do you think it's really going to happen that easily?
근데 그렇게 쉽게 될까? 그렇게 쉽게 될까?
So this moment, each moment is very
이
precious.
순간이
You have to know that and you should not miss that.
소중하다는 것을 갖다 여러분이 놓치지 말아야 돼요.
There's only this moment. And also, even if you pretend that you're meeting tomorrow, already the time and space is different. I'm also different. Everyone is also different.
나도 다르고 다 다른 사람이에요.
By doing this, the mind starts showing its true color. By doing this,
그렇게 함으로써 차츰
the actual basis starts showing.
바탕자리가 드러나기 시작할 것이다.
If the mind becomes free from all thoughts and also all concepts, then suddenly empty space, empty state will be shown. If you have the concentration,
여러분이 집중이 되어져서
if other thoughts and relations, or if they all disappear,
생각이나 이념 이런 것들이 다
if
사라지고
all the distorted or distractions disappear, then
딱 사라지고 나면 이 지금 연불했던 요 간세음보살 집중이
then the mantra that you have recited so far is in order to melt down everything. And if they have melted down, then actually there's no need for the mind to be there. And that also gets switched off, and there will be empty and void state. And this state in olden times, the old monks, they call this state as they have water in the bowl, and the bowl has broken off, and just like there's a little hole in the bowl and the water gets away all of a sudden, and it's just like that state. So you can actually achieve the voidness of the mind. This boundary This boundary Buddha has called it as the unraveling thought, the immovable. Everything disappears. So after this, all the thoughts that's arising, it's only the sense of bodhicitta and compassion, and you can also maintain the compassion, and other than the compassion for the all sentient beings, there's nothing actually happening. If you get used to this empty state, then your clear consciousness will also become more clear. It will be so clear and clear. In Diamond Sutra, In Dharma Sutra, the saying that since the sun is on the in the middle of your head, you can see every form and every state. This that actually refers to this state. The consciousness will become more clear and more concrete and will be more awake. So why is that happening? Why we have difficulty facing this is because because of my greed and my desire, I raise so many different thoughts, and because of those thoughts that is always distracted and distorted, we don't have the right sense of judgment. Since things become very unclear and there's a serious problem and we misunderstand, and because of that, although there are things they disappear, we tend to believe that they are eternal and we cling on to it, and by having our attachment we try to we have more attachment to it, and although there are things that they disappear again and again, we misunderstand and we think in a wrong way, even our body. Through the process of practicing samatha, we have to completely understand how to deal with the 5 flows and also 8 counter methods. What are the 5 flows? It's the laziness. It's a big problem. I'll do it tomorrow because I'm tired. I cannot do it. Well, if you give excuse of your knees, then when you're old, there's no one who is actually free from the knee problem. There's no time where you're not busy. Why is it so? Well, when I saw the TV, I thought even the hyenas are very busy. They're very busy. They have to smell, and they have to they also have to find if there is something there. Even when we go to the market, we have to look if there is something there, and we also have to cook, and if we cook, we have to eat. After eating, we have to clean. We are also busy nowadays, but we have so many we have high standards, so we also have to clean the house. But even cleaning, nowadays the stuffs are so good that even the floor is so clean that, like, if you see only a small particle of dust, it feels very dirty, so you have to clean that too. When you want to clean, you also have to clean your vacuum cleaner, and you also have to fix the vacuum cleaner and have to change the filter and even the water filter. And also the makeup that I have applied in the morning is not staying, so you have to change that. And there are so many things to do, and if it's okay if it's only my things, but the husband has also made a lot of laundry for you to do, and you have to put that into the washing machine, and while you do that you also have to go and buy detergent, and also you have to run the washing machine, and then you have to dry them.
세탁기 돌려가지고 또 말려야지. 말리다가 비 오면 또 그대로 쫓아 올라가야지. 아이고야.
By nature, we are bound to be busy, and even the sentient beings, all other sentient beings. If not, we are busy sleeping. If we don't have anything going on, we are busy eating, sleeping, going to the bathroom, and also cleaning, laundry, also bringing up children. And not only that, we also have to go for this and that meetings.
또 그것만 하나 개모임 가느라고 바쁘고 뭐 바빠.
And because we are so busy, the problem is so serious. So what is laziness? Not studying. And following other things
그렇게
is laziness.
공부 안
If
하고
you're studying hard,
딴 것으로
that's
쫓아다니는
opposite to
것은
lazy,
게으른 거고
because you
공부를
have a
열심히
good
하는 것은 부지런한 거야.
consequence
왜?
later.
뒤에 좋은 결과가
If
오는
a
것이.
farmer does his
농사를
farming
지는
well,
건 부지런한
it's
거고
very efficient. He's very
농부가
efficient
학교 치러
and
다니는 것은
hardworking.
부지런히
But
학교를
if he
쳐도
goes
게으른
for
거야.
gambling, then he's lazy.
그죠?
So don't tell me that you're not lazy.
그러니까 스님 저 안 게으릅니다. 그런 소리 하지 마요.
Don't tell me that you're living your life
스님 저
you're very
부지런히
hardworking.
사는데요. 뭐
But from my
시간도 때우고
opinion,
삽니다.
it's very
근데 내가 볼 때는
lazy.
많가 다 게으른 놈들이야.
A
게으른
thief,
거야.
no matter how hardworking he is at stealing, he's very
아무리
lazy.
부지런해도 게으른 놈이야. 응?
Laziness. Having delusion about the object of your asceticism practice. For example, the worst thing about a practitioner,
수행자가 제일
the
개떡같은
worst
게
thing is same for
제일
you.
못 쓰는 게
For
지금 여러분도 맞아요. 둘자들이 제일 못 쓰는 게
where the many Buddhist believer followers, you have to do 10 good deeds, but you forget what are they, and that's very lazy, and that's also very bad.
게으르고 못된 놈이야. 그 우리가
If you forget to do those 10 good things, and if you are going to do them, even if you forget, that's okay. But if you forget, then you're bound to do wrong things or bad things. So you forget what are the things that you have to follow, and you also neglect meditation and also remembering, and also the teachings. Oh, it's today, Tuesday.
아이고 오늘이 화요일인가?
Forgetting the objects of your practice, we call that flow or fault. If you couldn't come to today's teaching because you are busy, that's lazy, right? Answer me precisely. If you forget the object of your practice, what is that? That is your fault, that's your flow. For someone who is studying, that is wrong thing. It's almost like a student forgetting to go to school. So the Jeonnam hospitals, the head doctor said there was a morning class and afternoon class, and he was confused whether it's morning or afternoon, and once his class ended because he was missed second. And when he went back and said to his mother that he forgot, he didn't know the class already ended by the time I got there, and the mother didn't say anything but threw away the bag at all, and he was so scared that his mother just threw away the bag. And later he never said that he never ever told his mother that he would never go to the school. And if you forget if today is Tuesday, or if you forget to come to the teaching, we should also do the same, just burn the bags. Consciousness sinking down, and also
그다음에 이 허물이 뭐냐면 명상을 하고 앉았는데 자꾸 앉으면
and also elation. Why is it flow? You're sitting down to do your practice, but the moment that you sit, you start dozing off. It doesn't even take 3 minutes.
앉으면 3분도 안 돼서라.
Also, the elation, the moment you sit,
앉았다 그러면
is the porridge that I ate in the morning too less? I'm a little hungry.
배가 고프네.
What should I eat for lunch?
점심에는
The
내가
thoughts
뭘 먹을까?
they go after one after
생각이 자꾸
another, and
둥글어가지고
although you are sitting, you're
가만히
thinking of so
앉아가
many different things.
오늘 애기 아빠가 몇 시에 들어온다 그랬지?
What should I cook for dinner? And when is my
집에
husband coming?
갈까?
And
갈비탕
you're sitting down and you have built 12 houses and you have built 25
앉아가지고
buildings. If you
기와집을
do that,
12채 짓고 빌딩을 25채 짓고 뭐 이렇게 하면
if you sit down, then you have to concentrate to where you're
거기에 마음의
concentrating in your
스위치에
mind.
집중을 탁 하려고 해야 돼.
If you don't do that, if you continue, you're continue doing, continue being, passing by the elation and also slumber, then that's a big problem. Consciousness sinking down and also the elation. Well, when you have them, if you don't have a appropriate counter method, but if you keep having the kind of uh, oblivion, and if you just feel that if you should just go somewhere else, then that's that you're being taken by the elation, and if you don't try to control it, then you're bound to go. And if you have the slumber, then you should try to open your eyes, and if you still feel sleepy, then you should get up and do your practice while standing for a short period of time. If you still feel sleepy, then try standing on your tiptoe. If you're still standing on the tip of your toe and if you're still sleepy, then go outside a little and just have a little walkabout. And if you are awake, then come back and do your practice again. So if you have those problems, you should try to control them. You should try to be awakened from the slumber, or you should try to settle down your elation. If you don't control them and if you're being carried away, then it causes a big problem. The mind is so diverse that today I was a little busy making kimchi, so I would forgive you even if you doze off a little. If you do that, well, you need to use the appropriate counter methods. Well, you're busy and you're tired, but you should also know that you did it for you. If you're sleepy, you should open your eyes. If you're still sleepy, then you need punishment, so you get up. While dozing off, you should not be carried away by it. If that's not working out, you should stand on your you should tiptoe, and if you're still sleepy, then you should go out and walk around, and if you're still sleepy, then you should reduce eating. Eat a little less. Then if you treat again and again, then the body will surrender and follow you. This is just like you're having a little fight with the dokebi, the traditional the Korean ghost, while sitting. You're tired because you made kimchi today. You made a lot. I wanted to do only 3 boxes, but I did 5 in order to give mom, and so I'm tired. Should I doze off for 10 minutes and then do the meditation? If you only try to do 10 minutes, then another thought will arise and you will think, well, while I'm dozing off for 10 minutes, maybe I should just keep my head somewhere on the pillow. If I can only sleep for 10 minutes, and if you have your head on the pillow, then since you're lying down, what are 10 minutes do? Well, how about 30 minutes?
되겠냐고. 30분 자고 할까? 그러고.
So if you're standing, it asks you to sit down. If you're sitting down, you need to lie down. If you lie down, you need to sleep and sleep for a long time. And then what happens? Today it was okay even if I did that.
오늘 그렇게
Tomorrow too, if something happens, you again compromise.
내일도 무슨 일이 있으면 또 타협을 해.
If you don't use the proper counter method, then you give many different excuses to compromise. If you miss once, then twice is also okay. And if you miss twice, even 3 times is okay. If you miss one day, well, 2 days are also fine.
하루 빠졌는데 이틀 빠져도 괜찮아 그러고.
Such a good excuse, and also you know how well to defend yourself, and you give so many different excuses. Because I have children, it happens so. Because I have my parents put together in the house, it happens so. Also because I am old, and you give so many excuses like that, and also because you are sick.
몸이 아프니까 그렇고.
Not using the proper counter method is a biggest flaw. It's a big flaw. If you are being carried away by it, then you're not able to study. Well, let's do one more. Using a counter method that is not appropriate. That is also a flaw. So it's almost like you have a stomach ache, but you apply some ointment. So when you're sleepy, you say, oh, well, since I worked today, since I am tired, maybe I should sleep a little and do it. But that is not the proper way to do it. When you have agony arising, you are sitting down. Well, my daughter brought me, a man who is so useless and who is also not very nice. And you have been carried away by it. You don't try to stop it, and then because you have used a method that is not proper, even the concentration deep in your mind, it disappears. So you're just sitting, but your mind is not at the right place. Then that's not okay. So the counter method is, Buddha has made clear that when you do samatha, when there are conditions like this, you need to use these medicines. It's spoken very clearly. Not having the proper counter method is also a big flaw. A big flaw in practicing samatha. You understand? Let's end today's teaching. And the rest we'll do next class.